Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna White. I am your host of Keeping It Real on Purpose. And today we are completing a segment called Real Talk with Life Coaches. And we have someone special here with us today who lines up with just that. She is the owner of Sovereign and Sage. It's her business. And she's an author who's published a memoir about surviving childhood abuse, a Christian cult, and three toxic relationships. This is none other than our esteemed guest, Tina Djuretic.
Why, thank you, Edna. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here. I know that we chime on so many situations as most of us women do, and we're survivors. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I grew up in a very Christian home, as you mentioned, pretty cult-like, actually.
Okay. Yes.
Where you're not allowed to fear mongering. Let's put it that way. I think we understand the difference between, there's yeah. And right, it's a whole other bag of worms, right? But I think we understand the difference. A very healthy Christian upbringing and a very fear-mongering, it's such a difference. Very strict home, very, as you mentioned, sort of abusive parents, some mental illness there, physical, emotional, and mental, especially abuse. And this led me to a series of really terrible relationships, because where else is that going to lead you? I blocked my childhood really until a couple of years ago. So well into my 40s before I really understood the depth of the things that happened. I knew what happened. I knew the broad strokes.
Yeah.
But I blocked childhood.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was a good thing, because I was a happy-go-lucky on the outside human being who traveled the world. And although I hated my parents, if you will, I didn't live in that bitterness, or so I didn't think I was. And yet, lo and behold, I was repeating my childhood trauma over and over again. And realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it all came to a head with the third one, when I realized, oh man, there's actually a pattern. Because, until you have several of something, we don't even know it's a pattern.
Right, exactly.
Right? We just go, what's wrong with men? What's wrong with relationships? Right? But
what's wrong with them?
Right? Because why do I keep attracting these assholes?
Yes.
But that's what it feels like when you're living it. And so after the third one, when I finally asked the question, oh my God, there's a pattern here. What's wrong with me?
Right. Yeah.
And that is when the answers came, and the self-reflection came, and a spiritual awakening came that kind of gave me no choice but to deep dive into exactly why this was happening. And that's why I wrote the memoir, that my spiritual awakening and this last breakup and writing the memoir, all these things happened at once. They go hand in hand.
Well, you sound like my life. I actually got into the cult life, believe it or not, coming from a Black family. I lived with my great grandparents, so even though they were more spiritual than I even realized as I got older, because there was no mention like the dogmaticness that we have now.
Yep.
Oh, it wasn't there. It was like, did you pray today? Okay. There was no talking about God all day. It's like, see how pretty this flower is? See this? It wasn't like, oh, God made that flower. God is good. It wasn't all of that. So it wasn't until, abuse happened to me, childhood sexual abuse happened to me, that I was looking for camaraderie, should I say.
Yeah.
And so I thought that in the Western world, that's if you don't go to the doctors, or don't go to the therapist, because, in the Black community, don't go to the therapist. That's admitting something's like totally off.
Or weakness, right?
Right. And so with what's the next thing we go to? Church, because we're taught, lay your burdens down, be on the throne, and you will be okay. Oh,
Right?
yeah. No. 28 years later, I was
Mhm.
still carrying the same junk.
Yeah.
28 years later, being abused more in the church than I was in the world.
Yes.
28 years later, not loving people and being hated by the people in the church because I was saying, well, why can't you love this person? And
Something's wrong. Yeah.
something's wrong. Yeah.
God
You
forbid you should
know,
ask questions. Good Lord.
do not ask questions.
Mm.
And let me tell you, I'm gonna give you a perfect example of when it started to I started to question things, right? I went to one of my friends who it was in a church moved to South Carolina. So I went to go visit them for Thanksgiving. We're not doing anything that's different. We're just hanging out, laughing and talking. My youngest son took his first flight with me when he was 16. We went there and we're having this great old time. And on pops on the television a, um, a documentary on cult, being in a cult. We're sitting there going, "Oh my god, oh my god!" It
Wait,
sounded just
that's
like, and
me.
it was that's how we kept looking at each other. I was like, we're like, no, and I said, it sounds exactly like what we were going through. That was a pinnacle turning point for me, and that had to be like, oh, it was like maybe 5 years into the 29. Into the 28 years,
Right.
and I started getting that. For you, what was your experience of the awakening? What woke you up from that?
Well, I left religion behind a long time ago. I left home.
Okay, good.
I was just barely 17 when I left home. I was in grade
Okay,
12 and I walked away from it all. And then I just became more agnostic, I guess. Just sort
yeah,
of
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't believe in any of it. You're
Yeah,
all full of crap, right? Like, this is not healthy,
yeah, that's yes, yes,
right? Because we go to the other extreme.
yes. We sure do. We hate everybody, hate everything.
Right? Yeah, and right, like you're all liars and you're all control
Yes,
and you're all
yes,
like, this is so wrong. And so you
yeah.
go to the other side of everything. I would say then that spirituality, if you will, new age, it was called back in the days, right?
Right.
In early 90s.
Okay.
I'm now in my mid 20s. And I meet my first, she would have called herself a white witch. Uh,
Okay.
she was super gifted, super spiritual, and she could read the tarot cards. She knew everything about astrology. She heard the voices, so
Uh-huh.
she could read you and tell you past,
Right.
present, future, all those things. So I'd never met anyone like that before.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, you're going straight to hell according to my old religion, if
Right.
that's you, right? So this was like your old self reacts and then goes, well, I don't believe that anymore. But she, of course, I met it with a little bit of skepticism, but right
Right.
on
Of course.
5 seconds of knowing me, she was describing who I was. And I thought,
Right.
I'm sorry, nobody's preempted you with that information. So my
Right.
heart told me there was something to this. I spent a fair amount of time, meaning a very intense 3 months only, really, relationship with her, but almost daily. And I learned and I grew, and then my mind latched onto this. And I'm such a Sagittarius that once you give me one piece of information, I want all of it right
All
now.
of it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not how
Yeah.
it works. So I actually overwhelmed myself. And she was the one who at one point went, dude, you need to take a step back. Stop reading all the books I just gave you. Maybe start with one, right? So I
Hmm.
read The Celestine Prophecy. Do you remember this
Okay.
book from way back in the day?
Hmm.
And then I would say for the next 20 years, I had one foot in and one foot out of spirituality. I
Okay.
enjoyed the lessons I learned from the Celestine Prophecy about energy between people, how there are energy
Hmm.
vampires, how we steal energy from each other. It was such
Okay.
a great book to teach me those things. And then that was it. Didn't teach me how to
Wow.
protect or cut cords or do you know what I mean? Like there's so many more
Right.
steps to knowing this.
Oh, of
So
course. Yes.
I'd say from that point forward, I had one foot in and one foot out. of spirituality. Because if you started to
Okay.
talk to me about aliens and all these other things, I'd go, yeah, okay, you just lost me. Like, not that I didn't believe in aliens. That was
Right.
probably a fence for a while, but more like, just like, that's too woo woo for me. You've just gone into
Right.
another
Right.
dimension.
Right.
And honestly, the reaction was quite often, now you sound like church. When you come from such a religious background and you learn something new,
Yes.
you go,
New, and you just replacing it.
right, your old trauma comes forward and goes, yeah, nope, that's not
Yes.
I'm rejecting this.
Yes.
And
I
that's where I
know.
say I had one foot in, one foot
Yeah.
out. I took
Yeah.
things that I liked, but I didn't take it all.
Yeah.
And that's where I was at. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Like, I forgive myself for that now.
Right.
Not
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I wasn't ready. So now we fast forward to my late 40s almost, when I break up with my third partner,
Yeah.
and I did not see it coming. I mean, this partner ended up being bipolar, just like my mother, ended up criticizing me constantly.
Yeah.
And really, it was happening from the beginning. But I'm
Yeah.
so good. I was so good at making excuses for other people's bad behavior,
Yeah.
because this is what
Exactly.
we do, especially
Yeah.
men, because men have a get out of jail free card from the moment they're born. And it's called, oh, boys will be boys.
Yep.
That is
That's
their
to
get
get
out of
out of
jail.
jail.
That
Yep.
is, we do not have that get out of jail free.
Boys behave badly. You know this.
They're expected to.
What
That's who, right?
is that thing that boys are made of puppy dog tails and something like you ever
Oh,
heard that?
yes. Yeah.
I
Oh,
forgot puppy dog tails and something snail, something like that. And it,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so yeah,
Yes, yes.
that's
And
we've heard all those things, and that kind of sticks in that in
of
our
course it
brain.
does.
It
This
does,
is part of our programming from society,
Yes, yes, it
patriarchy,
is.
from religion,
Yeah,
from the country you grow up in. There's so
yeah,
many
yeah,
influences in our lives, right?
yeah,
When this last partner and I broke up, and I realized, oh my God, you're my
yeah.
mother. And I
Right. Yeah,
didn't even recognize it.
yeah,
The deception that I felt, not only from him, because he knew how I felt about my bipolar mother.
right.
That you're bipolar was amazing to me. For me not to see it, I
It's
was
even worse.
myself. And then I was mad at the universe. I
Yeah,
was pissed.
yeah.
How dare you deliver me nasty relationship after you doing this to me, right? That's where I was at in my
Mhm,
spiritualism.
mhm, mhm.
How come you just keep kicking me and kicking me and kicking me? When do I get my happy ending? I'm a good person. All those things that we say.
Yeah.
I'm a good person. Why are you doing
Yep.
this to me? Right? When they're not doing it to us, it's doing it for us. You weren't listening in those other bad relationships.
Yep.
You weren't getting
Nope.
the message, and you didn't heal.
Nope.
So now I'm
Nope.
going to deliver you one mother of a relationship. You're not going to be
Yep.
able to escape
Yep.
the
Yep. Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yep.
It's going to be
Exactly.
your mother, right?
Yeah.
Like, so so deceived and so angry and so
Yeah.
just broken. And but that's when I started to say, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
What's wrong
Yeah.
with me that I only attract this kind of relationship,
Yep.
that I only fall in love with people who are emotionally unavailable, that I only will take abuse and think that's love? Why?
Yep.
And that's when I sought answers, and I went to a channeler, and she saved my life. I mean,
Yeah.
I saved my own life, but she
Yeah.
pointed me in the direction,
Right directions. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, of how to do it. And she walked me through my childhood trauma. And then what I love about her, because any true healer does this, she walked me through my parents'
Mhm.
childhood trauma to
Mhm.
show me they did to
The
you
repetition.
done to
Yep.
them. This
Yep.
is why
Yep.
generational trauma is so powerful and so strong.
Yeah.
And but it's also where we find the grace
Yeah.
and the forgiveness.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about religion. Why I took that up. wasn't the camaraderie, it was the abuse repeating itself. I
Yeah.
was just finding something else or somebody else to abuse me
We
because it
cannot
was
escape the
very
past until we heal it.
familiar.
Yes.
It was very familiar. So being in it now, not only do I have, I had, a few childhood sexual abuse, people that perpetrated me. I go to a church and everybody's in there perpetrating me.
Right?
It's crazy.
It's
It was crazy.
crazy.
I'm thinking about it as you're talking about it. I'm getting this. I've never gotten this revelation before.
Oh, oh, I love
So
that.
so
This is
now
why we
I'm
have these
thinking about it.
conversations.
Everybody that was there literally was somebody that I was familiar with that was abusing me.
Yes. Yes.
Literally.
I
And
believe.
they took everything. They took, like, I was the smartest person in the group. So just, I know everybody that knows me, my audience knows, if you're the smartest person in a group, get out. Get out. Get out. It's
Except that
not
you're not the
safe.
smartest person in the group. Maybe emotionally, right? Maybe mentally you're the smartest, but emotionally, clearly not.
No, I was not ready for it. I was not ready for it. I was a get out, but it was, and now I see it like so, like I could see all the, like, as you broke down the bipolar with your mother, this partner was, and you didn't see it. I'm now seeing all the portions of the perpetrators and every person in that building that was literally like my opponent. I was always against, hitting against them and
Absolutely.
literally being
And
abused
triggering your
about it.
pain, right? Trigger, trigger,
Yeah,
trigger, trigger. Until we heal,
exactly.
we live in a state of constantly being triggered
Right,
because we're waiting for the next trigger. Well,
right,
is that what the universe is going to deliver to us? Exactly.
right,
Where the
exactly.
mind goes,
I was
energy flows.
always, I call it the waiting for the other shoe. I was always waiting for
Yes.
the other shoe to
Yes.
drop. I had one on, I was waiting for the other one to drop.
Yes.
What was gonna be said to me next? I even got criticized
Who's going to
about what I was
betray me? Who's going
wearing,
to hurt me?
how my body was. Like I had, I was thin waisted with a big, big chest, and like, can't you cover those up? And I'm like, what? What are you
How
going to tape them?
now? Yeah. Body
Just get rid
shaming.
of them, and it had me such you know no self-worth was in the pits,
For
was
sure.
in the pits,
Oh, for sure.
in the pits, and that's what it does. But one thing I did do is I took time to heal from that. Literally, it was a friend of mine. She actually left the religious realm as well at the same, and we were friends, but we didn't even know when we were going to do it, and it just happened like that. And we spent 6 months together talking about it, sorting it out, unlearning,
Yeah.
literally like unlearning what we learned, because it was so
Program.
ingrained on us. It
Oh,
really
yes.
was bad. And we took 6 months almost every day
Good for you.
taking like a concordance and finding out what it really meant, what they were telling us, what it really meant. And I mean, when I say that I won't be fooled like that again, I definitely won't. I definitely won't. But it's so good that you're talking about this, because when I talk about it, I'm so alone all the time. I talk about how that is all this trauma has to do with back then. Can you talk about, and I know you probably dealt with some clients that really don't think that there is any trauma, and they try to skip
For
over
sure.
it.
So, just to clear this up, actually, Sovereign and Sage is the banner I created for myself, but all I've done so far is write this memoir. I only
Okay.
published it in September, so
Okay.
I'm not seeing clients right now, but I certainly have a lot of
Maybe it's coming. It's coming up.
it is coming. I don't know when. What I'm writing right now is,
Yes.
in fact, I only started a couple days ago. Is the
Okay.
coach always told to me, "You'll write the memoir. You're going to heal. You're going to find your own healing throughout the memoir."
Yeah.
And did I ever? And then people who read it are going to find healing.
Yes.
And ironically, the spirit guide said to me, "Your audience are people like you, people that had one foot in and one foot out.
Right. That's
They're
really
ready."
good.
That are maybe now ready, like you
Right.
are now,
That's
to
really
just
good.
dive in, which is great. Whoever's ready, great. I'm not here to
Right.
push
Right.
anyone.
Right. But
The
they
next,
are your clients. The readers are your clients. So I you can't
yes,
excuse that. Your
I
readers are your
always
clients.
emails from people saying, "Oh my God, read your book. This relates to me." So, kind of like that. But
Yes.
the
Yes.
next book, which I'm working on now, and I'd like to have it out by spring, is the healing workbook to go with it. Because you
Yes.
read my life story, and at the end, yay, I found healing. The next question is, how? How? Right? So,
What do I do?
and,
Yeah.
and part of how I'm writing the book is just over the last 4 years, sometimes sharing my experience with a friend or a colleague or someone.
Okay.
Some of them jump in with 2 feet, and the resistance from some. Like I heard a
Oh, you not kidding.
lady say a few weeks ago, I will never forgive the people who hurt
Yep.
me because they don't deserve it.
Yep.
Like, oh, honey,
Yep.
I see where you are on your spiritual journey. I'm not judging you. I have
Right.
no right to judge
Right.
anybody, and none of
Right.
us do. And we're all in different areas on our
Right.
journey. But
Right.
if you think that if you think that not forgiving someone is, I hope that this changes for you. But even just by talking to her for 30 minutes at the end, she
Yeah.
kind of went, I see your point.
Right. Right.
Like it,
Right.
so it's by having these conversations. So
Yeah.
yes, I meet people all the time that go, I don't have any childhood trauma. I had a perfect upbringing. And I'm thinking, redefine childhood trauma as well. Maybe not always trauma with a big T or a little t, but maybe
Yeah.
just expectations of parents.
Yeah.
What if your parents loved you so much, but they're immigrants to this country? And
Right.
all you're going to hear, because this happens to immigrants all the time, is
That's
you're going
right.
to
Is their
have a better
culture.
life than what I had.
Yep.
I'm defining what that life is for you. You're going to be
Right.
a doctor.
Yep.
You can
Exactly.
get straight
Yep.
A's in school because I'm working 2
Yes.
jobs to put you through school. They
Right.
love you and they want the best for you. But now as a child, you're learning that I don't get praise from my parents unless I get straight A's,
Right.
unless I'm the president of this club. When
Right.
I'm perfect, they
Right.
love me.
Yeah, it's true. That's exactly right.
This is
You're right.
trauma.
Not with the big T, but I always think about the small T, and I'll tell you why.
Yes.
Even in the Bible, when they say, "Oh, Satan with the capital S or capital small S or devil with the capital D," I said, "Oh, the lowercase are all us. They're all us. They're all us in our own stuff. Our stuff, like what we're
Right.
going through as humans. So we
Yes.
have to navigate through that. We have to make the best of it.
Because how can you ever live and be who you want to be and also your true authentic self
Right.
if all you're doing is, first of all, wearing the masks that were given to you?
Correct.
Because we are all given masks. This is how you're a
Correct.
perfect mother. This is how you're a perfect Christian. This is
Right.
how you're a perfect
Right.
Canadian
Right.
or American or right
Yeah.
or in the Black community or in this
Yeah.
community.
Right. Right.
Not only do we have the masks and the programs,
Right.
um, just lost my train of thought. Wow, I do that. Squirrel.
It's the coding. Maybe the coding. You do the
But how can
coding.
you ever be your true authentic
Yeah.
self until, first of all, you know what it is that you want?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Rip
I just said that today. Nobody knows what they want. They ask, but nobody knows what they want. Nobody.
You're not what your parents wanted from you or what your grandparents
No.
wanted for you or
No.
what your country wants from you.
Right.
You need to decide who you are and then strip away all that programming to even get to
Yes.
that person.
To that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work.
It does.
Just getting to where I am, and I just turned 60, just getting to that point, it was a lot of stripping away of all those masks. It took a while, and even cut down to what I like to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Isn't that funny?
It was the weirdest thing. It's like, wait, do I really like this, or am I eating because
Is this a trigger?
to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Why do I even eat this? It's not satisfying. I don't really like it.
There's no nutrition in
What's
it, right?
Yeah,
What?
and I was like,
It's my best.
and when you ask yourself, as I heard in one of the movies, ask the right question,
Mm,
your innate creatures answers it, and it's like,
absolutely.
whoa.
Absolutely. I agree. Yes. And I realized my train of thought from before. if we can't be our true authentic selves, that's where I was going with that.
Uh-huh.
If all we're doing in life is reacting to our triggers,
Yes, and that's what we do. We do that.
that is what until we heal those triggers.
Yeah.
And just because you heal them doesn't mean you'll never ever be triggered
Right.
again.
Right.
But
But
now
you
when
know
a
how to
bully
navigate.
bullies me and I'm triggered, I go, "Oh, I see you.
Yeah, you can
I
navigate. Yep.
know
Yep.
why I'm being triggered
Yep.
now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not just flailing or yelling back or
Right.
I'm grounded. I see it for what it is and I go, "Oh, that you're my mother right now. You are triggering
Yeah.
me. You know what?
Yep.
I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm not a child anymore.
Yeah.
And you
Mm-hmm. Of
don't control me anymore. I live in peace and harmony now. I don't live in my triggers. So thank you for the lesson
course.
you're teaching me. Obviously, something still needs to be healed here.
Right.
I'm
Right.
walking through the pattern, and instead of it taking a month for me to figure out why I've been so antsy for a month because someone triggered me a month ago, I'm going through this in an hour or in half an
Yeah.
hour. It's
Yep.
immediate. And that is the beauty of healing,
Oh, yeah,
is that it
absolutely.
does get easier.
Absolutely.
Never stops, but it does get
Absolutely.
easier.
Yeah.
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 I like that. Yeah, that's really good stuff. That's good stuff. Excellent stuff.
Mhm.
So now that we got to the heal, we've got the healing and connecting. Now, how do we thrive? Tell me
Oh,
that.
well, that goes back to once you live in your true authentic life,
Oh,
you start to
absolutely.
thrive, right? Because again, how can you thrive when all you're doing is reacting?
Yeah.
You're living a life of reaction to, again, your triggers, to your.
Uh-huh.
So when you clear away all of the garbage, first of all, think of your body, your mind, your spirit as a closet. Your closet can only handle so much clothes, and then not one more thing can fit in there. So what do? We move a bunch of clothes so we can buy some
Mm-hmm.
clothes. Our energy is the same. If we're carrying all this trauma in our body, and you bet it's taken a physical toll on our bodies as well, we house this trauma in our mind, our body, and our spirit. How can you fit any light into your body if it's full of darkness and trauma? So when
Right.
we heal, we're emptying this closet, our energy space, if you will, to allow the beauty to come in. And when I'm not looking through the darkness to see what my purpose in life is, I
Right.
can see it because now there's a light on it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is thriving. Thriving is not about being famous or being rich or being
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
successful. Thriving is about living in peace. God, peace is such a beautiful thing to
It
have
is.
as
It
opposed
is.
to triggered all the time by these outside
Yeah.
sources. And that is
Outside sources.
thriving to me.
Right. And you're tapping in, instead of all the sources, you're tapping into the resource, which is you within.
Yes. Yes, because God is in us, right?
Yep.
We are
Yep.
God. Oh,
We
that's
are
heavy.
God. No, and
Right?
I'm so glad that you say this, because let me tell you, spending 28 years, and I said to someone, what did you, they asked me, what did you learn out of the 28 years? I said, I learned that I was looking out here for God, and God was all sitting here all the
Yes.
time,
Yes. We don't have to
because
go to
I am
church
God.
to find God. And I
We
certainly
don't have to
need
go.
a man in
We
power dripping in a
don't
church made of
have to
gold. Well,
go.
it's
Could you
garbage.
say that again? We don't have to go.
We
Could you?
don't have to go to find God. And any place that tells you that you do, I don't care what religion it is,
That's right.
this is separation and isolation. We need to redefine what makes cults, because the
Yeah.
very first step of every narcissist and cult is separation and isolation.
Woo! That's
So if they're
good.
telling you you're not allowed to talk to anybody that doesn't go to this church because they're all sinners going straight to hell, boom, separation and isolation, my friend. That is not God's
Narcissism.
message.
Narcissism. Ooh,
That is
that's
not
good.
God's
That
message.
is so good.
Yes.
So tell us how to get your book, where your book is and where we can find it.
Sure. So currently it's on Amazon. I did
Okay.
self-publish this. Nobody's
Awesome.
touching a memoir if you're not famous. It looks like that. I did bring it along. Finding my
Oh, like nice.
sovereignty, stepping into my power. So it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
And I also have an author's website, if you like.
Okay. Sure.
It's www.sovereign and sage. That's the name of the company, if you will. Sovereignandsage.com. And the link to buy it is there, or
Okay.
just on Amazon. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesomeness. And like you said, tell us the date. Tell us when the workbook is coming.
So I'm in the throes of writing it right now. I'm aiming for April. I'm aiming for April. I
Awesome.
go back to work in May, so I would like it to be done before I have a stable job, so it needs to be done before
Okay.
I get back to work.
Okay. Awesome.
So that's the
Well, we
I'm
thank you,
writing it now.
Tina.
Yeah, and
Thank you so much. It's been
thank
great. Go
you.
ahead. You
Thank
got
you for
some more
having
to
me.
share?
I was just going to say on my author's website when it's ready, it'll be posted
It'll
there.
be updated. Awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
for the spring.
All right,
April. April.
audience. You know to go to that website. You know to go sovereignandsage.com, right?
Yes.
There you go there right now. Get that book. And we want to thank you for being here because you could be anywhere else, but you're with us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Tina, for being here. And this is Edna White, your esteemed host, with my esteemed guest, Tina Djuretic.
You got it. Thanks for having me, Edna. It was a pleasure.
Bye for now.